I think I always made the comment that once a miller, always a miller.
Ravel, ambitious, but brilliant! I don't believe it! I swear I do not believe it! Good Evans, he's done it again. Another promotion for the big man.
I've got 12 bottles of champagne in my office and we're going to drink them all night.
Do me a favour, drop me off in Rotherham.
Hello everybody, welcome back to New York Talk. Thank you all for being with us. Unfortunately, we have another game to talk about. Just another game of football to talk about. Defeat this time, Birmingham City, with one of the most comfortable 2-0s you will ever see in your entire life. We will pick apart an abject performance from Rotherham United, a great performance from Birmingham City, but a really, really poor afternoon from a Rotherham perspective. But yeah, a lot to pick apart. There's a lot to pick apart again, which is really, really frustrating. Few stats, few things to cover. Let's just get in. Mick, how are you?
I'm all right, mate. Yeah, I'm all right. Still smarting from some of the nasty, vicious comments about me on the post-match, but I think I'll survive.
You'll be all right, yeah.
People say I'm old.
But never. They never said such a thing.
I'm grumpy.
Oh. Well,
old and grumpy were two words that I'm telling you now, I'm cut.
Well, grumpy we can get on board with, I think. Tom's with us. How you doing, Tom?
No.
What?
I'm very good.
It's mute. It's mute.
Keep muting me. I'm very good, thank you. Thank you for asking.
Excellent. Benjamin, how are we doing?
I'm good, thank you.
Excellent. Nice and to the point. Danny is with us. Danny's hopefully Wi-Fi is able to communicate. How are you, Danny?
I'm all right. I'm doing my intro with the camera off just to get it out of the way so you all know I am here. And we'll give it 5 minutes to see if it actually dies. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, it might be a bit like Rotherham. 5 minutes be all right, and then garbage for the rest of the 85 minutes. We'll see. We have got so many people with us in the comments. It didn't last 5 minutes.
No, it didn't last 5 minutes, did it?
No, it didn't last 5 minutes. A bit like Rotherham. Anyway.
We've got so many comments already. Bricktop Footballer says, I'm afraid it's relegation fodder with him in charge. Absolutely close. No plan B. He doesn't even know what his starting 11 is. Sarah Ogden says, evening all on reflection and listening to the Steve Evans pre-match. I don't think he ever believed we would beat Birmingham yesterday. That is very worrying. He had equally no Radio Sheffield interview. Nombe went and did it yesterday and said, yeah, I didn't see a Steve Evans Radio Chef yesterday. I did an in-house one, which is interesting. Steve Gundy says, evening, guys. What a letdown. I thought that we would put up more of a fight, but take nothing more from Birmingham. They're a good championship side. That's Mick. Harry says, no point in trying to be positive today, guys. Just say it how it is. Oh, we will. Mike the Miller, in all my years of watching Rotherham United, I can't remember being beaten at 2 p.m. like we were yesterday. Scott Gundy is still angry. He says, hello all. I'm still angry about Saturday. He does a 3-hour round journey every game, and they dish up this nonsense. Yeah, I mean, it's a 15-minute drive for me and most of the people. That's almost not worth it. We ask people if they want to set the agenda, and we have a question to go through. And I'm glad that somebody else has asked this question, so we don't have to.
Yeah, it's not us being negative, we promise.
Yeah, it's not from us. This is from Rob on Twitter. He says, is the game against Shrewsbury a must-win in terms of Steve Evans' job? He thinks so. Anything less than a win would be unacceptable and should be followed by a change in manager. Go on, Danny. I know your thoughts and feelings on this from the group chat. How we'll cover the game in a minute, but the context of it means we're in the relegation zone and we go to Shrewsbury next week. It's gonna be tough.
Yeah, I think it's a very valid point. To be fair. I can understand where the frustration is coming from with it, but we've said ourselves both in the group chat and out in the world that even after 7 games, it feels a bit like a snap decision. I mean, look at Stoke; they've sacked their manager at 13th. Cardiff have just got rid of their manager, but they've picked up less points than us. Of course, they're all championship teams. But if memory serves, we've not had a League One manager go yet. Is that right?
Think so. I don't think so.
So if we did it after 7 games or 8 games or whatever, we would be the first to do it. And, it's always, being brave, being the first one. But form-wise, if it was later in the season, then yeah, it's valid. But I'm sort of erring on the side of, 10 games, see what happens. But the football hasn't been the best. Wins have been draws, and potential fighting for a draw have been losses. So it's just not a nice feeling as fans because we've had, the passing of it effectively. So in my opinion, it's a valid point, just a bit early. But if it continues, I can see it happening.
Yeah, I don't think it's time for a change in mind. I'm going to be saying that, although some people in the manager are suggesting that could be the case. But it's important. This next run of fixtures, which again we'll maybe talk about Thursday, the run of fixtures. But this next run of fixtures is really, really important. If we don't pick up a win or 2 in these next kind of 3-4 games, we will still be in the relegation zone 10 games in, 11 games in, and you can't be doing that. Really, you can't. That's not sustainable. It's not acceptable.
Is that me?
Yeah.
Come.
Oh, I didn't know. Sorry. Look, there's so many people on. You never know. Look, I think at the start of the season when we were putting in performances and not picking up points, and everyone was very much in the mindset of give it 10 games. Are we still giving it 10 games? I don't know. Because in that case, these next 2 games are irrelevant, right? If the performances are there, then you're still giving them time to gel. But having said that, the games that look, this Birmingham game is such an anomaly because they're a championship side, and everyone seems a bit heartbroken about this game. And agreed, performance was awful, tactics were all wrong, and it's looking pretty dire after that game. But like it's just what happened last season. It's just teams who are too good for us, and we sit back and we have no clue how to actually play against these teams. It just, for me, showed the disparity between where we want to be and where we are. And in that case, I think that's a benchmark for what we should try to be getting at. And it's not all doom and gloom. The next 2 games, I think, are must wins, not because of Evans or the job or anything like that. It just must wins because they're 2 easy games. Like, don't get me wrong, all credit to Shrewsbury fans and Cambridge fans, but they're 2 of the teams who, before the season started, were bottom 4. Still, as the season's going through, still look like a pretty bottom 4 side. And therefore, if you're not winning those games, you're not going to get playoffs. You're not going to get anywhere near where we expect to be. And that's a case of we're just not, like, they're just must win games if you want to be where you want to be, and where we want to be is playoff. I just think I don't want to say I told you so or anything like that. And this is me being deadly serious, but those first couple of games, I think we all said it on the podcast, was that the performances, although we looked like we should have scored more and probably drew games we should have won and lost games we should have drawn and this, that, and the other, we all said it, that the performances, there was no rhythm, there was no game plan. It was put your best players on the pitch, that he still doesn't know who his best 11 are, and hope for the best. I think if we get this addressed, I think we've got, I know you said it, Mick, and got a lot of hate for it, saying that man for man, we aren't that much worse than Birmingham. I disagree. I think man for man, they're a lot better. But man for man for every other League One team, like Wrexham, Stockport, Charlton, Peterborough, all the ones that should be top end League One side, we are man for man up there with them. The only issue now is the man behind them all, and that's Steve Evans. And that's not a case of Evans is the wrong man, get him out, do this, that, and the other. It's a case of he needs to get it right, and he's currently not. And that's where you give him 10 games. 7 games in, he's still not got it right. That's a worry. If he gets it right next game after, starts playing with wit, which I think a lot of fans want, starts with a bit more presence, gets his players back who are fit, who get his players back fit, Kelly's a massive miss. Players who are just not really playing the way that we expect them to play. I think we can turn it around. I think Birmingham is a benchmark for where you want to be before you go up the league. Because that is they're a top championship club. They may well do an Ipswich and go up again if they go up this season and next season. They may. I don't know. That's how good they are. But they wiped the floor with us, and it wasn't because of a lack of effort, because they did try. There was no one strolling around the pitch. I think that's one of the things I saw was that people thought that there was no heart, there was no passion. But it's different between that and waltzing around the pitch. Last season, we had a lot of waltzing around the pitch and sort of players who didn't really look like they were bothered. They were all on 1-year contracts. They weren't really bothered. Now it's just a case of you've got to know when to press. You've got to have the best players in the best positions. You've got to get the best out of the players once they're in the best positions. And because on paper we do have good players, it's just about the man behind them now. And I think, the 2 games are a must-win, not because of Evans's job or anything like that, but for confidence, getting to where you want to be in the table against lower opposition. They are must-wins, and he needs to absolutely come out storming in the next couple of games.
Yeah, we'll talk about this game now, Ben, a little bit. So the game yesterday was basically when we played Leicester last season and when we played Leeds last season. The difference for me was last season we weren't trying to compete at the same end of the table as those teams. This season, we are expecting to challenge towards the top end of the league. If we want to finish in the playoffs, we need to be within 4 or 5 places of where Birmingham are going to finish. That's the bottom line, and we're not going to do that. That team in that performance look like they should. At times, they look like they shouldn't have been in the same league as Birmingham City, and they are in that league. We got it so wrong, so wrong from people that mentioned 2 o'clock from 2 p.m. onwards. We got everything wrong, and it's a concern that we were so far away. They're a good team, brilliant. They're a great team. But they're still in the same league as us. You still got to be competitive, and we weren't.
Yeah, it was so bad that it's ridiculous. That performance yesterday and the quality of the team. We're not a good football team. To me, that's all there is to it. We're not a good football team at the minute. We're really not. We're nowhere near top end. If we play like that every week, we'll probably get sent down. That was abysmal. That is genuinely. I've had time to think about it. It is one of the worst performances I've seen in a long time. Not in terms of effort, just quality. We're not good. We're just not good at all. We don't do anything with the ball. We can't defend. We're not a threat from set pieces. We don't get any pace. No wingers. What are our strengths? What are our strengths? Genuinely, what are our strengths? We'll talk about this on the way home. All of our chances are mistakes from them. Now, there is forcing an opponent into a mistake, which teams like Liverpool did for years, pressing them. We don't do that. We don't force them into mistakes. They just make mistakes. And these chances just sort of happen. They don't get created. We're just not good. It's not a good situation to be in because we've had 6 games now, 6 league games, 7 league games, which is 7 chances to improve, and we haven't. We've stayed the same. The tactics haven't changed. The performances haven't changed. To be honest, I thought the performance yesterday wasn't any different to the performance put against Burton and the other home game. If Burton were good, they'd have won 5-2, 6-2, and I can't remember who the home team was.
Bristol Rovers. They were
any good. They'd have put a lot past us. It's just Birmingham had that quality, and they put 2 past us, which is very flattering. It's a worry because it's not changed, it's not improved, it's not done anything. I don't know how obvious it is that we need wingers. I don't know if I'm just being an idiot, but for me, it's not even funny. Like, it's so obvious. Yeah. We're just not good, mate. It's not a good situation to be in.
Yeah, it's not. Go on, Mick. Before I want to ask you about tactics and stuff in a minute, how we set up and things such as that. But obviously, Mike put in the comments here, wasn't that performance against Birmingham as dire, if not worse, than the dire show at Hillsborough that heralded Taylor's downfall? Ben says worst game he's seen in a long time yesterday. The difference is the Birmingham are a good team. That's the difference.
Yeah. I mean that's the massive difference between that game and the one at Swillsborough, because they were poor as we were at Swillsborough, and they still managed to put two past us. Birmingham took the foot off the gas yesterday once they'd won the game. In answer to the question, I don't know how much appetite I've got for a change of manager. You know, having thought about it, I don't want him here. I didn't want him here in the first place, and I don't want him here now. And he's done nothing at all, absolutely nothing, since his appointment to make me think anything otherwise. But we ain't going to get another manager. It's almost as simple as that, you know. If we do get a manager, it's going to be some no mark, somebody with either no experience, not an unproven, or some journeyman. Nobody's going to want to come to Rotherham United. They proved that in the Championship. Well, I'm saying they proved that in the Championship. We don't know what went off behind the scenes with Tony Stewart and his obsession with getting Evans back here. But either way, I don't know. I don't know what the answer to the question is. I don't think that we'll get anyone else. So I don't know. I feel like we're in a bit of between a rock and a hard place, to be honest. You know, we've got what we've got, and yeah, what else can we do? But on the flip side of it, you would argue, and the next two games, if we don't win them both, then I might well change my mind. Because anything less than 6 points out of these next two games and an improvement in performance, anything less than that, it is just not acceptable. It's not acceptable. It's not been acceptable up to this point. And I'm not convinced that there's something going off behind the scenes with Evans. I think his ego's taking a bit of a beating here.
His post-match yesterday, I listened to it, and my master said he sounds broken. He sounded like a broken man in that post-match. That wasn't Stephen's interview. In my experience, when I come across people of that kind of personality in life, you know, they're larger than life personalities. They're allegedly got a massive ego. What tends to happen is that their ego is very, very fragile, and as soon as it takes a bit of a knock, they run a mile. And that seems to me, I don't know whether it's right or not, but certainly his behaviour after the last two games, in not facing the external press, kind of looks like that to me. That and again, you know, his reaction to a handball not being given or a foul not being given, and you know, that sort of reaction suggests that, you know, he just feels the world's against him and all that, and he's not got he isn't able to turn that into any form of motivation for his players.
There's no acknowledgement of the lack of quality, though. There's no acknowledgement of it. It's just brush over it and don't talk about it, or just lie. There's been no acknowledgement that we're not good. It's so obvious.
Yeah, but the issue with that is, Ben, and the reason there's no acknowledgement of it, it's because it's him, it's Evans and Rayner. They are the reason that we're not good. It's not the players. The players are good enough to compete at a high level in this division. Absolutely are good enough. And I stand by what I said yesterday in the post-match. You know, there is a big difference in quality between our players and Birmingham players. It's not £30 million worth of difference, I'm telling you that right now, in terms of value. But there's a difference. There's a significant difference. But they are not playing well, and the performances are not right because the tactics and the way they're set up and the way that they're coached is wrong. It's as simple as that, really. It has to be. There can be no other explanation for it. You know, you go back through the players that are in that team and the levels that they've previously played at, which gives an indication of what their ability is. It's not there. It's just not there, and it's down to Evans and Rayner not being able to get it out of them on the pitch, or them not being able to put into practice what they're asking him to do on the pitch, which I think is probably more the case. Because I don't think the players know what they're asking him to do, because certainly the fans don't know what they're asking him to do, because it's not clear to anybody. So I think he's losing his mojo, is Mr. Evans. And I think his ego's taking a bit of a battering as a result of all the criticism is getting externally from fans. So we'll have to wait and see whether sacking comes or whether he walks. But if there's not 6 points out of these next 2 games, that pressure is just going to increase massively.
Yeah, we've got to start playing better. Sean Green says this sounds like the podcast last year. You could copy and paste this last year, and something else we talked about. We're going to talk about specifically the game. Before the game on the screen, they put highlights of last time we beat Birmingham, which was the 2-0 win when Woody scored 2. And we talked about this after the game, me and Mick. I watched it. I saw Woody score a goal and Barlas are getting involved and Victor pulling off a save and Ben Wiles were there getting involved. It just made me feel sad that where we are now compared to the players that we had, it's a shame. And to sum it up and to put it into to give you some numbers, since Paul Warne left in September 2022, we played 96 games. We've won 14 of those 96 league games. So you're on a 40% win ratio.
Let's just put it on record right here and right now that Paul Warne left because Tony Stewart saw 3 bars pop down on his fruit machine and sought money. That's why Paul Warne left.
Yeah.
Should we give it Joe Scarza to end at season just for laugh?
Yeah. Sorry to get depressed people more than that.
You know, when people say that this feels like last season, maybe it is, and maybe this is the reason, right? Is because we haven't changed. There's nothing culturally, there's nothing player-wise that we've changed. It just feels like we're playing the same that we did last season, but with worse teams that we're playing against, so it looks better. And that's something that I think came to fruition yesterday, was that we played a team that we probably did last season, quality-wise, and we looked like we did last season because nothing's changed from last season. And that's something that I think has been papered over because of how bad the opposition has been in comparison this season. And, you know, Bristol Rovers aren't going to play you off the park like Southampton did last season, or this kind of regard, right? And now we're getting to a point where there's no identity. Like you said, Matt, I'm so disassociated with the club now. I said it last season, and it's getting to the point this season that the only reason I really still watch matches is because of this, and because I feel like I have to. You sort of disassociate yourself. There's no players in there that I'm really rooting for. There's no players in there that's really quite. There's the manager I don't root for. The football I don't watch because it's enjoyable. I watch it because I'm a fan, and it feels like that's the only reason why now at the minute. And it's starting to bubble back up, and that will bubble back up into other fans, and that will bubble back up into the toxicity that we had last season. And this is the thing, is that culturally we haven't changed. On the pitch, we haven't changed the style of football. The only thing that's really changed is personnel, and that's because we just wiped them all out. So what actually changes? Is it the manager? Is it the staff? Is it the players? Like, at what point do we go, we need a complete rehaul here? And, you know, I don't know. It's getting to that point now where I think Evans, I think the players, in fact, will turn it around. I think they've actually got the capacity to. But when does it get to the point where you're starting to think about culturally and sort of psychologically how damaging this is in the long run? Because it's starting to become that. And I don't think the Birmingham game was that bad per se. I think it was against a really good opposition, and I think anything other than a win, and people would have been like, "Oh, fair enough." And we were lucky not to lose 5 or 6-0, and it was an awful performance and all this, that, and the other. But as soon as you get to a point where, but the reaction off the back of it was so powerful to see that everyone was sort of like how we were after 2 games, that it's just turning into last season more than anything. And that's what's scary, is that there's been no culture shift, which I thought there would have been, but there's been none at all.
I don't know. I don't know whether you were expecting a culture shift with Steve Evans coming in, but if you were, Tom, you were barking up the wrong tree with that, mate. Absolutely.
Well, it's not necessarily because of Evans coming in. It was because it was a fresh start, and it was because it was someone who, like, let's not kid ourselves here. in pre-season, everyone was loving his interviews. Myself, everyone was loving him. And I know you admitted it at one point, Mick.
What I said is hope he can prove it and back it up.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And that's the thing, is that pre-season, I thought that was the culture shift of everyone starting to enjoy it again, liking that we're a bit of a bleep house team and sort of getting back into the Rotherham way of things. And then it's just not fruitioned at all. And that's when we're just going back to last season. There's been no... We've gone backwards, if anything. And this is the point where you say, was it the right decision even sacking Liam Richardson if you go back all that way? Which I don't know. I'm not going to comment on it because I think that'll cause too many arguments. But
let's talk
about it because we brought this up yesterday, didn't we?
Yeah, go on, Danny's not been in this for a while. So, Danny, if Liam Richardson was still manager, where would we be if these performances were Liam Richardson? Would he now be sacked after that game? Would we be saying, "Oh, give him 3 or 4 more games"? Where would we be?
That's such a good question, you know.
Why should Evans be treated differently? Because
I mean,
Richardson
yeah,
is getting bombed out at club right now if he was still here.
Yeah, and I remember saying this at work on Saturday because we have like a running thing of like, oh, how long is it going to be until Rotherham concede with the regulars, which is now a running thing, which is a terrible thing, but that's the state we're in. And it did get me thinking during a quiet spell, would another manager with this form and this, how do I word it, lack of guile to actually go out and get a win, would they have already gone at this point? And is the only reason Steve Evans being given, one more game, let's see how he does after this game, is it because him and Tony Stewart are apparently busy mates? You know, it's a very, very valid question, and I'm leaning on the side of, yeah, potentially. Because let's face it, Steve Evans was brought back as a bit of a heroic return, hurrah, you know, and plenty of season tickets. And if we get to 7,000, I'll buy everybody a pint in Cutlers, which is all right if you've got the football to back it up, which we haven't at this point. And yeah, it does beg the question, if Tony Stewart had persisted with Liam Richardson through the summer, if Steve Evans had somehow miraculously said no and stayed at Stevenage, would Liam Richardson have been given 7 games or 8 games plus to turn it round with this poor form? And I actually do think the answer is no. I think Steve Evans is possibly on thin ice with results-wise anyway, but he has got the nice little cushion that he's mates with Tony Stewart. And I've seen someone in the comments say that Stewart left his box after the first goal and didn't come back out. So maybe that's why Evans sounded a bit broken, that he knows he's falling out of favour with the chairman too. Potentially. It's all hypotheticals and potentials, but it's such a valid question. And, you know, I actually do pitch it to everyone who was watching and in the comments. Would another manager have been given 8 games, because he will be in charge of the Shrewsbury game, I imagine. Would another manager have been given 8 games if we've won once? And that's a team that, in all due respect, should be challenging for promotion from this league, was given the the hype to be challenging for promotion from this league. Would another manager be there? Probably not. Let us know what your thoughts are, because I love that question. That's brilliant. Maybe that's why Radio Sheffield didn't get a Steve Evans interview, because they wanted to ask it.
Well, yeah. Ben, what did you want to say on that?
Nothing. I can't remember, to be honest, mate.
You brought it up.
Basically what Danny said.
You brought it up.
I think this goes further back than Richardson, though. You alluded it to it earlier when Paul War, and that is this moment that set it off, this downfall off. It was in the best place. Well, I've only been watching this, I don't know how long, not that long compared to some people, but it's the best place I've ever seen. Is best place with the club, you know. Like we were saying, every game I went to, I felt like, we might win this. Like, I felt like we had a chance. You know what I mean? Even if we played the biggest teams, the best teams in the league, still felt like we might have a chance to win them. I don't even feel like that any game at the minute. And I haven't felt like that since Warren left. But that's the moment that set it all off. I mean, when he left, what were we? 9th, 8th?
8th or 9th, yeah.
Something like that. I mean, that's just so depressing to think about, to be honest. But yeah, that's the moment that set it off. It goes further back than Richardson. But what I was saying about Richardson was the way that was handled. Like what you said, we don't know if that was in place, but the way that was handled, from the outside, it's abysmal, is what it is. It's disrespectful, and this is what it causes.
Yeah,
I
Andrew Lang.
just want to bounce off what Tom and Ben have said just there with the wanting to go to games. It has got to the point where I'm more than willing to go to work rather than to watch Rotherham because the football is so dire. And I can almost predict the results coming in. It's like, right, I've gone to work. Rotherham aren't going to win today. Oh, there it is. And another stat to hit you with, Rotherham haven't won a game with 22 players on the pitch this season in the league.
Okay, fair enough.
That's a bit, would we have won against Huddersfield if it were 11v11?
Possibly not. And it was only a last-minute winner.
Yeah.
Andrew Lang sums up, I think a part of our pre-season prediction was, will Steve Evans still be here? Andrew Lang says, don't think Steve Evans will be gone anytime soon. Tony Stewart is too invested in him. To get rid of Steve Evans will be admitting Tony Stewart has made a massive mistake. That'd be too much of a price. But that's basically what we all said at the start of the season. Steve Evans will be here because I don't think Tony Stewart will admit a mistake. Having said that, if you do stay in a relegation battle, you have got to pull the trigger at some point. Now, the time's not now, but what did Steve Evans say? 13 games or so, 13 to 16 games, you kind of know where you are in league. I suppose let's see where we are then. See what the situation is. Let's go back to the game, though, Mick, because, again, the problem started when we found out the team at 2 o'clock. When you play a team that likes to put the ball on the floor, you need to do a couple of things. You can either make yourself really compact and solid, so they've got to go around you, or you can put a bit of pace in there and just really go for the press, be really, really aggressive with the press. What you shouldn't really do, in my opinion, I am a novice, but in my opinion, you shouldn't take a man out of the middle to give them more space. That's just, we gave Birmingham exactly what they wanted. And they went, oh, thank you very much. We'll take all this space and we'll score 2 goals. From an experienced manager, honestly, blew my mind. Honestly, I couldn't believe it.
It's a double-edged sword, that as well. No, I agree with what you just said there, yeah. But not only does that allow them to just dictate everything in the midfield, all it allows you to do is play the ball long.
Yeah.
Which then means you lose the ball, which means you then give it back within 2 or 3 passes. So that's how it played out, And anybody at all who watched a football match in the past, had they sat down and thought about it, would have worked that out. Anybody. I don't understand. I genuinely don't understand. I mean, we played 5 at the back. Traditionally, in my head, if you're going to play 5 at the back, your two wide players are wing backs. So they get up and down the pitch. We didn't. We played a flat back 5. Flat back 5. No intention of either of the two. Maybe on the left-hand side we got forward a little bit more. A little bit. But it was only a little bit. Nombe ran his socks off, trying to close players down, trying to at least create something or create some mistakes. But other than that, as soon as we got the ball, whenever they did make a mistake or we managed to win the ball back, it just went long, came straight back to us. 90 minutes. For 90 minutes, that's what happened. The white flag, as Mike said earlier on in the comments, the white flag were waved at 2 o'clock. Well, it was waved in middle of week, weren't it?
No, it waved 10 days ago.
Yeah. And it's just, I can't, it's incredible. It's incredible that you would even think that that's acceptable. We should be absolutely giving it to them. We should be pressing, and we should be at least putting some players in the midfield that are going to be able to break play up. Nothing. Because if you put those players in there, when you do win possession of the ball, it allows you, if you want, play some nice short passes, keep the ball, try and progress up the pitch, a bit like they did, a bit like all teams do. Virtually every single team that we played this season at whatever level and the last 2 seasons, they'll try and work the ball. They'll try and work it forward because 99 times out of 100, you lump it forward, it comes straight back. You know, it's not like it used to be in the old days where it was, you know, maybe 50-50. 50% you'd lose, 50% you'd keep possession of. That's not what it's not like that anymore. It's just naive is how we initially described it on the post-match yesterday. It can't possibly be naive. It can't be naive because they're not a parent of an under-12 who's just been given manager's job. You know, they've been doing it for years. They allegedly know what they're doing. Well, they don't. They don't know what they're doing. And they proved that yesterday with the team that they picked. And then, you know, we're saying, right, I tell you what, we're going to change the formation so that we make sure that Jay Stansfield don't get it, you know, do his thing. They scored 2 goals. He scored 1 and set the other one up. Right? So, all right, well, I'll tell you what we'll do, just in case he does it again. What we'll do is we'll take off the only player with any pace in the back 5. and play a flat back 4 of players who have got no pace whatsoever or very little pace.
He wasn't feeling well anyway, Mick. Remember? That's what he said.
Yeah, of course. Coincidentally, he wasn't feeling very well. Yeah, whatever. That may be the case. Who knows? But nah, it's just it's not naive. It's just incompetent. It's not incompetent. It's inept. Is how I described it yesterday, and it is. It's horrible. Yeah. I hate it. But I don't feel like not going. I'm still going.
You're still going. But the thing is, Tom, that what obviously we like to play long balls. One thing that struck me for Birmingham, one of the many things that struck me, was that they're a team of giants. They're a bit like the Paul Warden side in that sense. There were so many players that are massive. So why on earth would you play long? Why on earth would you go direct? That's something that struck me with Birmingham. I'm so impressed with their recruitment, not solely because of Stansfield, but because they've got players that are physically in the right place for League One. They gobbled everything up that came out of that defense. And this is not the first game of the season. They've played 6 games before this. We should have known that they've got some giants on the pitch, which, again, just mind-blowing.
That Klarner was excellent. Is it Klarner? The captain, centre-half, he was excellent. Yeah. But, I mean, you're right. It's so funny, isn't it? Because we're, for all intents and purposes, 4 idiots trying to talk about what we should be doing better as a management team. But what we sort of say, you kind of think, how the hell has someone higher up not actually thought about this? Like you say, they're all giants. And the issue is, in all honesty, is that we don't know how to play. Training days, I don't know what they do because it's not playing football. They've got no clue of where to be. They've got no clue of 5-yard passes, 10-yard passes. There's certain things on a football pitch which we will never understand because we're not there. We're not good enough to be there tactically, physically, whatever. But you look at some teams. I mean, I think Steve said it before in the comments, but like, you think about Fleetwood and Burton and Mansfield all this season. Maybe player-wise, they're not really as good, but tactically, they knew how to play. All their players knew where to be. They knew they looked like they would, you know, fight for each other, sort of thing. They looked like they knew how to cover each other. They just looked structured, organized. Even if they're not the best technically or this, that, and the other, they knew what to do. They had a game plan. It's so evident now, especially watching Birmingham with their 1-touch, 2-touch triangles, feed it down the line if you've got a chance. This sort of football, like compared to what we do. I mean, I've never seen the fact that the likes of Cam Humphreys, who played under Pep, is now booting it long the first chance he gets. Evans and previous management are making these players worse. I mean, Mick, I know you love him, but Cam Humphreys is nowhere near the same player that he was when he first joined. And he's still probably one of our best defenders, but he doesn't touch the levels that he was when he first joined.
Yeah.
And he's got worse, and that's nothing to do with how he is. Maybe his hamstring injuries have slowed him down a little bit. Physically, maybe he's a bit worse, but that's to be expected with injuries. But technically, I've never seen a man who was so comfortable on the ball, so composed, could dribble out from defence, be reduced to knocking it long, and he's never done that in his life. Along with other players, Powell, West, obviously a player who loves to drive forward, looks like he doesn't really know what to do when he gets the ball. Kelly looks like he's the only player. He came with a great pedigree. He's not really lived up to it, I'll be honest, but he came with such a good pedigree. And for Wigan was one of their best players in the Championship that season when they went down. And we've made him. I mean, I don't know if we've made him, but he looks bang average League One footballer at the minute. And I've always been a fan of him. I thought he's always been I thought he's always have a bit of quality behind him. But the last 8 months of him have been dreadful. And I think you just can't see how it's anything to do other than management. And this isn't just Evans. This is 2-3 managers ago that they're reducing them to not anything. It's just there's no coaching behind any of this, and I thought that would have changed with Taylor bringing in Green from Villa and bringing in a bit of a youthful setup, and I think we all knew that under Evans there's no coaching going on, but my God, they're regressing as football players, and that's scary to watch because you could buy the whole of Manchester City's team, put them under Evans, and they'll look like half the team that they were. And if you get into that point, what the hell do? You don't go out and buy more players because inevitably they're going to become as crap as the ones that you've already got. Like it's sort of scary. Tactics wise, we're nowhere near anyway. Player wise, as soon as we get tactics right, maybe players will start coming out their shell. But we've said it so many times. Evan has no clue what his best 11 is, or even what a good 11 is, in all honesty. He consistently gets it wrong, and they look scared to even play football. And, it's really worrying. There's 6 or 7 different scenarios I could tell you about when they look like they've been scared to play football. But I'll stop waffling.
Matt Miller says it was surreal watching a game with one team trying to play football that belongs to dinosaurs and the other playing the football of the future. Scott Kent starting with 5 at the back and 2 sitting midfielders is criminal. The thing is, Scott, we didn't even do that. We basically played 5 defenders, Chris T sitting in the middle, and Hacks and everybody else standing as far forward as you possibly could. It was as close to a 5-1-4 as you could ever wish to see. It was mad.
That was there a couple of times. In the first half? Yeah, in the first half. A couple of times when we were kicking towards the Birmingham fans, that formation was abundantly clear. I mean, the front 4 were in an absolutely perfect line.
Yeah,
and I don't understand. I just don't get it. I don't know what I'm saying. I don't. I could. At least with Taylor, and to a certain extent with Richardson, I could kind of see what they were trying to do. They were trying to play some football. They were trying to play out from back. They were trying to press whatever it was. I could see. I had an idea. I'm stumped. I've got nothing. I have got absolutely nothing in terms of what we're trying to play. Just wow.
Speaking of Matt Taylor, have you seen that his Bristol Rovers team have won 3 games on the spin now, 2 of which are at home? Bristol Rovers have won more. Yeah, they've won 3 on the spin now.
No, they lost against Peterborough at the weekend.
Oh, did they? Oh, I think that must have been before that. But yeah, they won 3 games on the spin anyway. Maybe at home, I don't know. But yeah, so it's funny how the guy who Steve Evans knocked quite viciously in pre-season and in the pre and post match stuff, that his team is currently doing better than ours.
Yeah,
throwing stones in glass houses comes to mind.
Yeah, let's talk about the Dylan Phillips situation, Dan, because I want to tick it off because there are reports that he had an interaction with a fan. Now, none of us saw it. There are obviously people in here that in the comments that I'm sure did see it. this may be one of the reasons why Evans didn't want to do a post-match, because he didn't want to get involved in this kind of thing. But just the reports are that somebody gave some stick to Phillips, and Phillips kind of pointed at the fan and pointed to the exit, either tell him to leave or ask him to sleep after the game. If that's true, that's really, really out of order. If that's true, didn't see it.
If that's true, yeah.
But, Danny, obviously the second goal is the closest thing to a Phillips. How do you feel about Phillips on the second goal? Is it just an amazing finish from Stansfield? Is Phillips caught in no man's land? What do you say on the second goal?
I think the same conversation crops up with Dylan Phillips when he concedes a goal, and I've said it before, he does tend to flap at times, and so yeah, you could argue it's Dylan Phillips not being positioned right and not reacting correctly, but at the same time, it's a decent finish from Stansfield as well. So I think it's a mixture of the two, if I'm being honest. But with Phillips, the same conversations crop up time and again. And, it also begs the question, when is it time to change it?
Well, yeah.
Maybe it's a bit more just cause if he has offered a fan outside to fight him. But hearing if he's pointing to the exit, it does border on the sense of him saying, if you don't like what you're seeing, you can leave. But you should never say that to your fans, because the fans will outlast you at a football club by at least 3 decades. So you should never say to a fan, if you don't like what you're watching, you can leave. It's like, no, you should be playing better. We support this club from the ages of 8 until past 80. You're here for 4 years if you're lucky.
Yeah. Oh, we have to go correct, Danny. Apologies. But Bristol haven't won 3 games this season. They've lost 3 in a row.
Okay.
But they're still higher than us in the table.
Well, yeah. Stats failed successfully there, I'll say.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, they're a point better off than us.
Okay. My apologies.
If Shelley says, but if Phillips isn't in no man's land, then Stansfield doesn't score. Yeah, he's made a mistake. And also, Ben, we talked this at the time, that there was a couple of moments where the defender felt like they had to clear the ball because Phillips didn't clear it. And at one point, Jim McCart literally said to him, "Talk to me," when Phillips should have come and got it. The defenders don't trust him. And that is you can say he's not good shot stopper, but you can say all these things. If his defenders aren't trusting him, that's the biggest problem.
I mean, that was McCart, so yeah, I don't rate him anyway. So I think that's just. I think that I don't know, but for the second goal, I mean, we're gonna play flat back 5, right, and not let Stansfield in. That worked well, didn't it? Because he got in. He got in any time he wanted. Literally, any time he wanted, he got in. Literally. It's a good finish. I don't know what he's doing, Phillips. He's either coming or he's not. Not both. Which he did a couple of times. It's just not good. It's just not good football, mate. That's all there is to it. It's not good football. It's really bad football. And the offering the fan out. I mean, I've not got anything against that. If you're not the backup keeper who somehow got the job, if you are a good football player and you are respected, you do what you want, mate. You've got a right to say, well, if you're having a go at me, let's have a go out. If it's whoever's doing that, and fair enough. If that's Woody, it's a fair enough. But not if you're the backup keeper who no one likes. You can't do that.
No one likes.
Same with playing to the exit. You do that if you're respected, not if you've been a keeper for a year and now. You know what I mean? You can't do that if you're new to the club, which he is, because he essentially wasn't here last year.
Yeah.
We're sure he wasn't offering Ben outside. We're sure about that.
Ben seems to have just let rip. Last
I balled it in. He's all here. Just balled in for 6 games, 7 games, trying to be the positive one, and it's all coming out, mate.
Like a coiled spring, all that positivity. We've let him loose now.
Good.
Like a slink going down the stairs. He'll have anybody.
Matt the Miller says he thinks it was more than a decent finish from Stansfield. It was classy. He's not blaming Phillips for that one. It's the tactics that left the player playing the through ball acres the space. Yes, to be fair. It's an excellent finish, but I also think the keeper is in no man's land. that's the quality of that shows the quality of the player that he was able to adjust his. He obviously wasn't going to do that to start with Stansfield, but he's seen where Phillips is and taken full advantage of it, and it's just excellent.
He ripped us all game. He ripped us all game.
Oh, just I think the guy who scored the first goal, I have to whatever his name is, he absolutely ran the show.
The guy,
he was just so good. I mean, the first goal comes from him, which again, we're gonna set his tactics up to stop Jay Stansfield doing his thing. Assist the first goal, having miscontrolled it as well first, and then assisting it. But yeah, that 24, great goal, and again, I've not seen him play before, so it's okay for me to not know that he's a very, very good player, because that's not my job.
No.
Steve Evans went to watch these guys 5 days ago, and I assume he was very good against Wrexham, and I assume he was very good against other teams. So what do you want? How many times did Paul Holmes stick Jamie Lindsay, sacrifice Jamie Lindsay or Ollie Rathbone or Will Volks? He's their man. You go and sit on him, and we'll be fine. And how many times were we fine?
Well, exactly.
Criminal.
He is the man. He is the man, and he's that player that's going to feed Stansfield and others. You know, the players who are going to finish. They're the one. He's the one that's going to feed them. You know, if you're going watching a team, one of your first, in my view, one of your first jobs is to see if they've got a player like him. They've got that Barlaster type, that sitting, holding midfielder who will just run the game, and that's exactly what he did yesterday. Absolutely. Exactly what he did, and he must have known about him, surely. But he's not the big name, is he? You know, Stansfield's a big name because they paid big money for him, and so I don't know. Again, is it naive? Is it naive to think that if you don't feed the man who scores the goals, he can't score the goals? Is that naive, or maybe that's me? I don't know. You know, but instead of putting 5 players there and expecting that he's not just going to run straight past them, which is what he did. I don't know. Yeah, he's a player in that lad. Iwata, is it? Iwata. Yeah, he is. He's that player we've talked about many times. You know, when we talked about Dan Barlaser and players from the past who've played that role for us over the years. He's quality, absolute quality. Stop him, then you're going to put out a lot of Birmingham's attacks, or you're certainly going to minimise the impact of it. Seems to me to be patently obvious. But maybe he just had a really good game yesterday and he didn't play very well on Monday. Who knows?
Yeah, maybe. Maybe. I wonder if they played any other games. That first game they played this season against Wrexham. No other games they could have gone back and watched.
Who knew? He is the player. He is. You know, we've talked about it. Well, in my view, he's the kind of player that I absolutely adore. The one that he kind of floats under the radar. You know, but he absolutely runs the game. He just runs the game, and he's a player and a half. And he had all the time in the world to stroll in from midfield, didn't he? Nobody came with him because why did nobody come with him? Because there's nobody in midfield. Who knew?
Yeah. Let's cover the Malik Wilks thing. Performance, Tom. Obviously, he's been one that we've praised a lot so far this season because he's been our best performer, other than maybe Nombe. But the guy we sit next to, we agreed a lot that Wilks was just rotten yesterday, and I don't necessarily blame Wilks for that. I still think he's being played out of position. But again, this format, if you're going to play against a team like Birmingham, Wilks in a 10, it doesn't make any sense. It's just nonsense. And Wilks, and it didn't help him. Him and Clark Harris might as well not played, to be honest with you. They just took up spaces on the pitch. It was just a waste of time.
There was one point where they ran into each other, wasn't there?
Yeah, they were.
Yeah, genuine, just proof in the pudding. It's really ironic, isn't it? And we'll say this hundreds of times this season that Evans is complaining and saying we have no wingers, saying about how he's going to get a winger in, gets Malik Wilks in. Don't think he's played on the wing once, and I keep saying this because I think it's really funny that the definition of an idiot is doing the same thing again and again and again and expecting it to change. And Steve Evans is an idiot because it literally and that's pure definition. That's not even me calling him one. That's just factual because and you can clip that. And he basically just plays the same formation. And by formation, I mean that front three, the same constantly. And there's no tactics behind it. There's nothing between them three. And that's not even disrespect to any three of them ability-wise. They just don't work. And we've had 5 games of it now. And tell me one game when it's worked. And it didn't even work in the Huddersfield game because it was just Wilkes doing it off his own back. And how many times can those front three be put together in that way until you go, hold on, don't think it's working here? And it's scary because he keeps doing it. I mean, we keep saying play. Hungbo is one of those players that is so exciting that when he gets the ball, I just think, okay, this guy's going to do something. Wilkes likewise.
Something's going to happen.
Something will happen. Yeah, Wilkes likewise. And I think you put him one-on-one with a defender. And, I mean, we said it in the pre-match, is that those two fullbacks are not, and I think proved it, were not brilliant at defending. And that's completely fair because they annihilated us going forward. That's absolutely fair. And I think if you put Hungbo and Wilkes one-on-one with them in any scenario, they'll toast them. And I think there was multiple times that we probably I just don't understand why the decision hasn't been made to do to change formation and to just bring two wingers, out and out wingers in, as in Hungbo and Wilkes, who are both in the squad and both fit and both wingers. And it's scary that neither of them have been played both together and in their right positions. I don't even think Hungbo's played on the wing yet this season. I think every time he's been brought on, he's either been brought on as a centre midfielder of like a little diamond.
Oh, mad on it yesterday.
Yeah, like a little crappy diamond that Evans is trying to perfect, or he's been played in that 10 spot where he doesn't do anything because they've never played there in their lives. It's the Hacks to right back scenario all over again, and McDonald to right back scenario all over again. Play players in their right positions, and you might get the best out of them. We're seeing. I said it before that we're seeing players almost regress in ability. It's because they're not being played where they're used to being played, and with players that they used to being played. If you play Rafferty, Raggett together, Humphreys, and then James, because I think that's the back four, and then you've got two wingers out in Hungbo and Wilkes. That is a six that is definite, and that's it. And then you can mold the team around that, because the other players need to fight for their place, because what we have compared to what is being played is just it's the difference is astonishing. Clark Harris is going to get talked about so often this season, and I don't know what to do with him, and I'm not even going to pretend like I know what to do with him. Nombe likewise at this point. I think Nombe is a fantastic player who terrorizes defenders, but he's not a goal scorer. So again, I don't know what you do with him. Midfield wise, we bought in about 8, and 2 of them are probably good. And they're not even the ones that we brought in. It's genuinely baffling, the sort of recruitment that came in compared to what we're seeing on the pitch. And by that I mean who we brought in and what caliber we brought them in, and then not even playing them or playing them in their right positions or doing any of this. It's a load of crap at the minute, and we really need to face. I think that's that. Like face the music. I think Evans really, really, really needs to at this point, because he's just in a whole load of mess, and he needs to sort these tactics out, and he needs to play wingers for God's sake.
Yeah,
I know you couldn't see, but I was viciously nodding the whole way through.
Yes.
Any slight chance we had of getting Evans on the show went when Tom called him an idiot.
No, because I defined what an idiot was, and then I said that Evans does that. And I said, factually, the two things, okay.
Idiot via a third party. I like that, actually.
Yeah. There was no way on this earth he was ever going to come on this. No way on this earth.
No. I do like to think
Brian Vernon says Tony Stewart is from Brian Vernon. Tony Stewart and Steve Evans he says are killing the club slowly, making Johnson Clark carry his captains beyond belief. Yeah, that was silly.
I mean, we said that at the time when it was announced, didn't we? We sort of said, it was an interesting one, but I'd have given it Kelly, but never mind.
It's never. He's never fit.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Oh.
Scott Grundy says Hungbo to play on this left of a central diamond. What is he doing? Again, there was many mind-blowing things that happened yesterday. To play, it's like playing Chio as a central midfielder. It's just nonsense. Ryan Vernon says that putting Nombe out to press isn't leadership. He says it's spineless. Had Evans faced Radio Sheffield as well, I think that would have been fair. From what I can find, I can't find a Radio Sheffield interview with Steve Evans. And if I'm wrong, somebody let us know in the comments and we'll have a listen in a bit. But I didn't see it. Evans didn't come out after the game, after the full-time whistle, and clap the fans. He went straight down the tunnel. And this is Ben. I'll come to you because I think you. I don't think you normally care about this kind of thing, but he didn't. What I don't like about a person is when things go well, they're buzzing to take the plaudits. They'll get that stupid 3 fist pump thing. They'll do this little thing where he does that, and it's just. Then when things go badly, you've got to take it. You've got to come around, applaud the fans, thank the fans for still turning up, because some fans don't want to anymore. And Evans doesn't do that second part, and I think that tends to show a bit of a measure of the man, and that's really, really disappointing.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah, you just said it all. Yeah, it's just disrespectful. It is what it is, because we're coming out. You know what I mean? People work. People look forward to this on a weekend. They pay money to see this and take time out of their day when they could be doing something else, could be relaxing from work 5 days a week or whatever. If you've got kids and stuff, you're coming out to the game, you're spending your time and your money on it. And for that performance, and then not even not an apology, but you know what I mean? Acknowledgement.
Appreciation.
No one came over to our side of the ground, not even a player. Yeah. No acknowledgement whatsoever. That's just so disrespectful. Warney, every time, even when we won, he never ran off. He always waited at tunnel, shook their players' hands, and then clapped. Came over, shook referee's hand, and clapped everybody. Win or lose. Win 5-0, lose 5-0. That's what we did. Not this fake sort of. I don't even know what it is, to be honest. It's just dreadful, mate. It's just bad football. It's bad management. It's a bad system. It's a bad time. It's a bad time. And I hope it doesn't get worse, because I think it has potential to, with decisions that are going on like that. Not like that, but decisions that are going on. And that's a compound.
It just feels rotten, doesn't it? It just feels rotten. And that may change if we get 6 points next 2 games. And we will. If we get 6 points, we're going to feel differently. But the problems that are there now are still going to be there even if we get 6 points. We aren't talking about this. If any Birmingham fans watching going, that's just because they lost to us. This isn't just because they lost at weekend. This is because the stats I mentioned a minute ago for the 14 wins in 96. This is for the 10 games he's been in charge now, if you include the 3 games from last season. It's accumulation. It's really
Football's moved on, Matt. Football has moved on since 2012, and we have gone back to 2012. And if we're going to maintain that sort of attitude towards the game as a club, as a whole, then we'll end up back where we were in 2012. I don't think there's any doubt about that. You know, the level at League One, at League Two level is so much higher now than it was in 2012 when we came through the divisions. It's so much higher. The quality of manager is better. The quality of players are better. The quality of the football that's played at all those levels has improved. The quality of our coaching at the moment is in 2012. And if we maintain that, and then Tony Stewart maintains his confidence in this management team, we'll end up exactly where we were when Tony Stewart took over. That's how it feels to me at the moment. There is no forward thinking at all in this club as we stand at the moment. All there is feeble attempts at trying to make a short-term fix, which is what by bringing Evans back. But all you're doing, like I said, is bringing a manager back whose tactics worked in 2012. They don't work any longer because football has moved on, and we as supporters have moved on. We expect more. We set the bar higher because of the work of Paul Warne, because of the work of Steve Evans to start with.
Yeah.
You know, let's not take away what he managed to do and what he managed to build, and then mess up spectacularly by his behaviour. But then we got Paul Warne in, who managed to build on that and bring the club kicking and screaming into the 21st century. You know, and here we are. We don't want to be. I mean, Martin's made in the comments about why does Stevenage do so well. I don't want to be Stevenage. I don't want to be a club coming from League Two and getting through to the top end of League One just on a little bit of underdog. Look at us, aren't we plucky? And then end up back being in League Two, which is what will happen with Stevenage. That's not what we want as a club. That's not where we are. Paul Warne took us so much further as a club, both on the field and off the field. And all that work's been undone.
I think the overarching thing is that it's showing more or less the entire fan base a greater appreciation of the work that Paul Warne did. And I know a few in the comments have harkened back to Paul Warne's first season in League One and how it didn't, start the best and everything. I think that's because he still expected not to have the job by Christmas.
Still wasn't bad though.
Yeah,
we were a good team.
Yeah, we were a good team, and the ideas were there, but that needed the traction to get going. Whereas with this, there's no ideas to get going, in my opinion, anyway. And like a few people in the comments and everything, Steve Evans being a bit of a dinosaur. Yeah, he is stuck in 2012, and I remember in the pre-season saying, I hope it doesn't end up the way it normally does with bringing a former manager back, where it never lives up to the same hype. I mean, it even happened to Ronnie Moore in the 2000s, where he got us the double promotion. That took a bit of grafting to get going, and then we got the double promotion, and that dragged the club into the 21st century in terms of the restructuring of football and how it all works. But when Ronnie came back to try and effectively save face a little bit, it didn't work, and unfortunately, Steve Evans is going the same way. In my opinion, it has been brought back to get the hype back, which he did initially at the end of the championship season. It got a bit.
He did when there were no football being played.
Yeah, exactly. It brought a bit of faith back. It's like, we could be doing something here. But unfortunately, the proof is in the pudding. Football is played on the pitch, and we aren't good enough on the pitch. It's a results-based game, and the results aren't in our favour at the minute.
No. Scott Kent says on English Evans going out tunnel. That's because he of the loud boos at full time. He mentioned in the interview that he was surprised at the booing because, in his words, the players gave everything. If he thinks that we're in bother.
Oh, can I just jump in on that comment?
Go for it, mate.
If Evans is surprised at why the fans are booing the performance levels and how we're performing with the team, it shows there's a huge disconnect in what he sees to what the fans are feeling and the dissatisfaction. It's like we said on a previous episode, how he was surprised that fans booed when he took Nombe off, when he's actually one of our hardest working players. Like, I know you shouldn't define a player how hard working he is, but when the rest of them are plodding about and Nombe's getting stuck in, and then you take him off, that's a bit, well, what are you doing? It shows that the fans' point of view and the manager's point of view are so far apart that when we get booed, he's like, well, what are you doing that for? Whenever we booed Paul Warne's teams, he took accountability for it. But there's no accountability whatsoever. And if anything, that adds to the feeling of dissatisfaction that we've got and just makes us even more enraged. And it can't carry on, really, can it?
I mean, that's why I say, play me, Steve. Play me. 60-year-old me, 59-year-old me, and I'll run myself into ground. I'll run myself, and I will. I'll run myself into ground. I'll be crap, and I will get booed because I'm crap. But I should. What he's saying is I shouldn't get booed because I've worked hard. No, that's not the point. That's not the point at all. Again,
but the bullying wasn't in a weird place. The bullying weren't even really at the players. Nobody's really questioned the players' effort levels like they were last year. That's not what the rules were for. Matt Miller says, "Do we really think that we're going to win 2 games in a row, even against the bottom 2?" No, I don't, Mike. But Rich says 6 points with only paper over the cracks, and absolutely that's kind of it. We had a tweet. We had a reply from ask people to sum it up. Steve Exley put a tweet which I thought was worded very nicely. He says, "It's a weird feeling that I've had for the last 18 months. I feel like I'm on the outside looking in. Nothing I see tempts me to invest in the team for fear of immense disappointment and anger. I'm sick and tired of winning no games." And I think that's how we all feel, to be honest with you.
Yeah, valid. Very, very valid.
As articulate as ever from Steve. He nails it again.
Yeah. I just fed up of talking about losing, to be honest with you. I'm just completely fed up now. Is there anything else to the game we want to mention?
No.
Is there anything? We can finish on this. We can finish on this, can't we? So 2 things. Let's come with 2 things. Number 1, we have a big announcement tomorrow. I can't say what it is. It's secret. It's literally top secret. From a podcast point of view, it's Monday's a big day for us. So keep an eye on the socials, and you will see why it's a big day. Second of all, Mick, Ben, Danny, talk to me about Friday. Talk to me about one of the good things that's happening in Rotherham at the minute with Liam at his LPMC. Come on, put some smiles on his faces. Give us something happy to talk about.
Oh, who wants to go first?
Awesome. Absolutely fantastic. And I'm hoping he's coming on Thursday. Okay. Spoke to him over the weekend, and hopefully he'll be on Thursday. But he's got another gig coming up, which is already announced. But we'll talk about it on Thursday night on the run up to Christmas. So come on, it was absolutely awesome.
Yeah, it was absolutely. I mean, Lee's album and his new EPs are incredible in of themselves, but my God, to have it live with like Lee as the frontman and the band behind him as well, it was just amazing, absolutely amazing. And I was showing my gaffer at work about it, and she were amazed as well. And she'd not really heard of him because she's from Leeds and not from Rotherham. But that gig at Chantry Brewery, goodness me, were fantastic, absolutely fantastic. And fair play to Chantry for naming an ale for Lee on the night as well. There was the LPMC ale on tap as well, so fair play to that. But yeah, absolutely brilliant.
Ben, anything?
Yeah, both they just said amazing, just amazing. He's always amazing. He gets better every time we see him. It's just ridiculous. He's so good, it's unreal.
And a nice guy as well, which helps.
Yeah.
Harry says, "Are we having an interview with that Steve Evans?" I would be amazed.
Imagine.
Can you imagine? Look, the invite is always there for anybody at the club to come and talk to us. I don't want to really ask the question directly because I think it puts the club in a really difficult position, bearing in mind how we've been. So I'm not going to put anything on the club. Having said that, if anybody does want to come and talk to us, we are available. We do work. We have jobs and that, but we are available to have a conversation and chat. We can get rid of Mick for a night if you want as well. That's fine.
Yeah.
Matt Mills asked if we love comments. Mick will be in comments. Mick, is a transfer to Blues Focus? Is that on the cards?
I don't know, because everybody in Birmingham, not everybody in Birmingham, but quite a lot of Birmingham fans think I'm old and grumpy, so probably not. I don't know what I'm talking about. That were really clumsy. I can't argue that post-match explanation of what I was trying to say was very, very clumsy, but there were a few Brum fans who recognised the fact that it was immediately post-match and I was a little bit upset and annoyed. But no, I won't be. That's not happening. That's not happening, John. You won't catch me wearing blue unless it's one of our away kits, mate.
Or a Wednesday shirt like a couple of years ago.
That cost. Yeah, that raised £700 or something, didn't it? So I'm not going to argue with that.
Yeah,
that's his price, John. Get him told.
Matt Miller says, great music on Friday, then again on Saturday afternoon with Steve Evans and the easy beats. He's on it. He's on it tonight, is Mike.
That's Bob on that. I like
that. Harry says, Mick will not be going to the Blues Focus source at Millimick 2. I think that's all I've got in me, to be honest with you. Unless there's anything else we want to talk about, good, bad, negative, sad, happy, joyful.
I suppose one arm of Rotherham United have done well. The women's first team beat Chesterfield 5-0, I think it was, in the FA Cup, and the under-21s won 6-1 with one of the team members getting 5 goals to herself. So fair play to the women's team.
Did they play wingers, Danny?
I think they did. Yeah, I think they played 4-4-2. Funnily enough.
Oh, interesting. Wonder if anyone's watched that. I bet they didn't. Right, I think we're done. Make sure you have subscribed. If you haven't watched the instant reaction yet, please do so. You'll see Mick getting upsetting some Birmingham fans and Ben at the same time. To be honest, as soon as Mick said the thing about Birmingham not being very good man for man, Ben just started shaking his head like this behind the camera. So do check that out as well. We've had the numbers of the last couple of episodes have been amazing. So thank you everybody who has watched the last few episodes. The subscriber numbers have shot up as well, and yeah, we appreciate everybody that is watching us and putting up with us. And it'll turn. Look, eventually it'll turn. You look at the day we talked about, and we will turn. We will be back on Thursday, which will be the full preview show of going to Shrewsbury. We've looked to break that away. 690 days, I think. Saturday will be. I will have to do a count up, but it'll be around 690 days since our last away victory. We'll try and get a Shrewsbury fan on as well, because Paul Hurst, the manager, there's a bit of a thing to that one. So we'll have a look at that. And like I said, keep an eye on the socials tomorrow, because we have a big announcement that we are looking forward to announcing, I think is the best way I can put it. Michelle says also, if you're watching on YouTube, don't forget to like, give it a big old thumbs up, and make sure you subscribe as well. If you're with us for the first time, welcome. Make sure you've subscribed and watch out the other stuff. If you're watching on X, as I can see, a couple of hundred people are watching on X, make sure you follow us and then go over to YouTube and please do subscribe. If on iTunes and Spotify or wherever you are audio listening, make sure you subscribed or followed wherever it does. Give us a 5-star rating explaining why you've enjoyed the show. Could you enjoy this episode, do you think? No, enjoy is not that one, is it?
Relate.
Yeah, relate. Mick, thank you.
No, you're very welcome. Honestly.
Tom, thank you very much, mate. It's been good.
Yeah, it's been good fun. I didn't think I didn't dislike the game yesterday as much as I did until this podcast.
It's a funny kind of therapy where it makes you hate the game even more than you thought you even did. That's what good therapy does, doesn't it? It opens doors.
Yeah. Weirdly, it is actually. Whoa. Ben's let rip tonight. Ben, this is a new Ben we're happy with. John in the comments offered you a ticket to Peterborough Saturday, so if you fancy watching them on Saturday instead of Shrewsbury, there's always an option for you.
I'm all right, thank you. I'm all right. I'll turn it down.
And Danny, thank you as always, but no thank you to your internet.
Yeah, it's been a pain in the arse, a bit like Steve Evans, to be fair, but it's always a pleasure to be part of these therapy sessions, lads. On to the next therapy session on Sunday, I think it'll be.
Yeah. Hopefully there's no news between now and Thursday, because I don't want to do an episode. But anyway, thank you all for being with us. It's been something. We will see you all next time. And as always, up the Millers.
Up the Millers.
I think I always made the comment that once a Miller, always a Miller.
Ravel, ambitious, but brilliant! I don't believe it! I swear I do not believe it! Good heavens, he's done it again! Another promotion for the big man.
I've got 12 bottles of champagne in my office and we're going to drink them all night.
Do me a favor, drop me off in